Welcome back to Half the Battle. I'm your host, as always, Daniel Levi, and today we're going to talk about Dana White's Contender Series Week 7. And my friends, it's going down this Tuesday night live at the Apex in Las Vegas, Nevada. We got 10 UFC hopefuls, 10 prospects trying to get that UFC contract. Some very good matchmaking by Mick and Sean on this one, as usual, and some tough fights to call. So without further ado, my friends,
let's get down to business. Give you one more night to get this. We've had a million nights just like this. So let's get down to business.
So you know what's funny? I actually recorded this show already, but for some reason my dumbass had my mic like all the way over here, and I wasn't even talking to my mic. So I went back to listen back, and I couldn't hear a word I said. I was like, "Oh my god, sounds like I got to re-record this." So here we go. So first up in the strawweight division, we got a matchup between Rose Conceicao Brito. She's 7-0, taking on Alexia Thainara, who's 10-1. Currently, they got it. Rose Brito minus 145. The comeback on Alexia Thainara is plus 115. So very well matched fight, because in instances like this, I do think that Rose Brito has more potential, and there's a lot to like about her. She's got a lot of natural athleticism. She's got a lot of heart, a lot of will to win. You know, she's overcome adversity. She's been 5 rounds. And from kicking distance, man, she can throw head kicks from not that far away at all. Good side kicks. Up close at boxing range, you know, she does like to wing them. It ain't the prettiest, but man, she'll go for it. And it's just one of these things with Rose Brito where it's like the potential is there. No questions asked. Like, this is a girl who I can definitely see be in the UFC down the line. I can see her do great things too. It's just about, y'all know that paying your dues is a super important thing. And when you're talking about her opponent, Alexia Thainara, she has paid her dues, man. I mean, we're dealing with a young lady who was fighting, you know, she's already taken her first L, and it was against Bruno Brazil, who's currently in the UFC, who had one of the best knockouts in Contender Series history, who just whooped on Molly McCann. And this was in like Alexia's like second or third pro fight, right? So like the fact that she's been fighting real girls, you have to respect that. And there were some instances in her last fight and Brito's last fight that I know the matchmakers saw, and they probably think to themselves, what will happen if the fight gets in these certain positions and situations? And what I'm referring to is, for example, in the end of that first round and even that second round of Rose Brito's last fight, the title fight, you know, she kind of gave up some easy takedowns and gave up some really bad positions. Like the end of that first round, she was fully flattened out on a back mount, you know, eating shots. And you look at Alexia's last fight, she got her opponent in that same spot and finished the fight via rear naked choke. But the good news for Rose Brito is that these are the kind of things that can be worked on in the gym. Your takedown defense, your get up game, you know, putting the in-betweens together. So that's not something I'm so worried about. It's more just about her being green, her being undefeated. No one's exempt from that first L. It's just a matter of, do you guys think it's going to be the first L on Tuesday? You think it's going to be first L on the in the UFC? That's what it's about determining, because like I said, Alexia has paid her dues and she's more experienced here, and she's no slouch at all. It's just that I definitely think the higher ceiling goes to Rose. I think, like, if you ask me, who do I think has potential to be ranked in 2-3 years from now? Rose Brito has the better potential, in my humble opinion. But I do think they match up really well. And I basically just see this being an honest back and forth fight and kind of a close decision. I do think that the athleticism of Rose Brito and just her aggression is going to be the difference here, but her opponent is no slouch at all. And I expect them to have an honest fight. And I'm going to go Rose Brito to get the dub here. Now, next up in the featherweight division, we got a matchup between Kevin Vallejos. He's 13-1, taking on Cam Teague, who's 7-0. Currently, they got it. Kevin Vallejos minus 350. The comeback on Cam Teague is plus 275. So this is a hell of a fight. So for y'all that don't remember, Kevin Vallejos is the kid that fought Gian Silva on Contender Series, right? And I mean, that loss has aged really well. Look what Gian Silva's on these days. Gian Silva's on the cusp of entering the top 15 in 2 separate weight classes. So that loss doesn't look bad at all. And it was a whole thing of where, like, this kid legitimately won the first round against Gian Silva, which no one's done in the octagon. And I'm including Charles Jourdain at featherweight. I'm including Drew Dober at lightweight. Like, no one's won a single round against this guy inside the octagon except Kevin Vallejos. And a lot of people say, well, you know, he won the first round, then he slowed down. He got paced by Gene Silva, which is true. He did get paced by Gene Silva, but getting paced by Gene Silva at 21 years old when you were undefeated at the time is not an indicator that Cam Teague is necessarily going to pace you. But I got to give Cam Teague a lot of credit. For y'all that have never seen him before, kind of reminds me of like a very green, he's like a Ginger Diaz brother. Like, the dude is tough as hell, incredibly durable. You start to gas out on a guy like Cam Teague, you start to show Cam Teague any kind of weakness, he will tee off on you. So I'm sure a lot of people's narrative is, well, Cam Teague, if you can just weather this early storm, get this extended, he's got a great chance. The reason I disagree with that is because I don't think getting paced by Gene Silva is an indicator that a less experienced opponent is going to come out here and do the same thing to you, man. I really don't. I think that Vallejos, again, he was 21 at the time. Now he's 22. You know, it's funny. I thought he was like 23, 24 by now, but it's only been slightly over a year since the Gene Silva fight. So he's only 22, but like, you're going to see a physical maturation from a guy like Vallejos, you know, turning into a man now. And you saw his last two fights since Contender Series, he's finished both of them in the later rounds. So if you thought that he's first round or bust, that's complete fake news. Even before the Gene Silva fight, he had won decisions before, got late finishes. So I disagree with that line of thinking. But if you got to pull up Cam Teague's fight with Austin Lingo, because up until that point, Cam Teague had never fought anybody, you know, kind of the 0-0s, the 1-0s, all those kind of guys. Now, he handled them all accordingly for sure. But the Austin Lingo fight was his first UFC vet. And man, I got to give Cam Teague a lot of credit. He took that ass whooping up front. I mean, he was taking a beating against Lingo, but man, he hung in there. And when it was his turn to return the favor, boy, did he do that. And he got Austin Lingo out of there late second round, pretty sure, knocked him out with knees, man. It was sick. So I definitely think that Cam Teague, if he doesn't belong now, he will belong by this time next year. He's got a lot of qualities that we look for and a lot of things you can't teach. So all respect to Cam Teague. I just think that Vallejos, his hands are on a different level. And I think that the experience he went through with Gian Silva is going to propel him and elevate him to where he needs to go to get into the UFC. Because like I said, that losing his undefeated record was probably the best thing that ever happened to Kevin Vallejos. So what I think is going to happen here is I think he's going to come out here and I think he's going to whoop Cam Teague. I think, look, he might get a first round finish, but the whole, hey, if he doesn't get a first round finish, Cam Teague is going to take over. It's not that black and white. Like, the only way I see Cam Teague taking over is if Kevin like drops him multiple times and just blows his load, just empties the clip completely. Yeah, if that happens, okay, then I can see Cam Teague taking over. But if Vallejos paces himself and just hit this guy over and over and over and over and over and over, and I think he can win early or extended. So all respect to Cam Teague. You know, he's a dog. He's got, like I said, he's got my respect, but I'm going to go Kevin Vallejos here to get this dub. Now, next up in the 205-pound division, we got a matchup between the undefeated Italian, Francesco Mazzeo. He's 4-0, taking on the 6'7" Brazilian, Kevin Christian, who's 8-2. Currently, they got it. Kevin Christian, -175. The comeback on Francesco Mazzeo is +145. So another interesting matchup because this kid, Francesco Mazzeo, he's only 4-0, but 3 of those fights haven't even gone past the first minute. And again, that's not his fault. Not your fault at all, kid. Like, you handled the cans how you're supposed to handle the cans. The issue is when you're fighting on Contender Series, when you're fighting in the UFC, I need you to be a little bit battle tested. Now, I've only watched this guy's finishes that I've, ended in under a minute. I didn't get a chance to see that fight that he won via DQ. Can someone in the comments let me know exactly what happened? Like, did he get knocked out? Did he quit? Like what was the deal with that DQ win? Because I haven't seen it up until this point. I'm recording this on Sunday afternoon. So as of right now, I haven't seen that DQ win, but if y'all have, let me know. But besides that, what I've gathered from this kid, Francesco Mazzeo, look, he's getting these early finishes, but like, some of these fights are really ugly. It'll be spin after spin. Then you corral a guy against the fence, land a bomb. And again, not your fault you're getting them out of there this early. It's just, I want to see you be battle tested. I really want to see you pay dues and stuff like that. But again, word on the street is that people were turning down fights with Mazzeo left and right. People would literally pull out, would say no, the whole bit. So he's a guy that had a lot of trouble getting fights. But I also heard that he's a former middleweight, and this is at 205. And you're not just fighting any 205er, you're fighting a 6'7" 205er. And this dude, Kevin Christian, I like him, man. I mean, does he have, his flaws too? Of course, sure. He even got dropped his last fight, which was an incredible fight, by the way, against Miguel Porto. And like the thing about this kid, Kevin Christian, is sometimes he will get carried away. That's just how it is. But from range, when he can use that 80-inch reach, man, he's so damn dangerous. And like I said, black belt on the mat too. So you're not exactly safe there either. But where he can be got up is if you can close that distance, get into boxing range, he's very susceptible with that tall man's defense. So there is a path to victory against this guy. But I think that the fact that this man, again, he's paid his dues, he's taken his L's back in 2016, like, you crush the grapes. Now, hopefully you drink the wine. You know what I'm saying? And all respect to Mazzeo. I just think that he hasn't paid dues. He's too green. He's not battle tested. Anything can happen, of course, but I think that Kevin Christian is going to come out here and probably finish this fight and get a contract. Now, co-main event of the evening in the welterweight division, we got a matchup between Vadym Kutsyi. He's 17-1, taking on Daniel Frunza, who's 8-2. Currently, they got it. Vadym minus 250. The comeback on Daniel Frunza is plus 190. So this one's interesting because, like I said, when I read the records, y'all heard me say Vadym is 17-1. Like, that is paying your dues. Like, he's not coming in here with one of these 6-0, 5-0 records where you're not too sure. Like, I feel like I got a pretty good read on this kid. The only issue, he is coming off a 2-year layoff. I don't know if that was by design. I don't know if he's dealing with an injury, but what I do know is this guy's experience, this guy's overcome adversity. This guy's won fights late, won fights early, knockouts, submissions, the whole ordeal, man. So there's a lot to like. And you watch his last fight against Ismail Nardiev, the Austrian wonder boy, who was a former UFC fighter, is actually back to being a current UFC fighter. He's Nardiev's actually fighting Bruno Blindado Silva at middleweight, interestingly enough. But Nardiev fought this kid Vadym, right? And it was actually at an 175-pound catch weight. Either that or some people missed weight. But listen, Vadym had to overcome some adversity. He actually got dropped in that fight, but when it was his turn to return the favor, I mean, that counter shot he landed, this guy's got some nasty counters, man. He really does. And his opponent, Daniel Frunza, look, I respect the fact that this guy's got 7 knockouts on his record and he goes forward. He likes to throw heavy, but I have serious questions about this man. Should he go to the UFC, even Contender Series? Like, I think there's big holes in his takedown defense, his ground game. He's been rear naked choked more than once, including not that long ago against not the best competition. And even on the feet, where his strength is, I think he's a bit on the slower side. I think his volume's on the lower side. Unless he's got you hurt, that's when he'll kind of swarm you. But for the most part, his volume is super, super low. And you watch that last fight he had against Talunjic, like, man, it was 1-1 going to the third. It was an ugly fight. And he got that knockout with like 10 seconds left. And the knockout was beautiful, don't get me wrong. But up until the knockout, I just I wasn't convinced this guy's UFC ready. So I definitely think Vadym's going to win this fight, but Vadym has to be careful because Daniel does have a puncher's chance, and Vadym's been dropped as recently as his last fight. So there's that to be accounted for. But, man, I think that Vadym's counters are going to be too much on the feet. But what I really think is if Vadym wants to mix it up and get this to the mat, I think he can come out here and submit this guy, to be frank. So, yeah, I'm going with Vadym here to win this fight, go up to 18-1. And I think Dana White's going to be like, listen, kid, I know you're 33, but you're 18-1. And I don't usually sign 33-year-olds, but get your ass over here, kid. You're in the UFC. Main event of the evening. In the heavyweight division, we got a matchup between Bailey Schoenfelder. He's 5-0, taking on Danylo Voievodkin, who's 6-0. Excuse my pronunciations. Currently, they got a Bailey Schoenfelder minus 650. The comeback on Danylo is plus 475. This is one where I'm not convinced about the odds. Let me explain why. So this kid, Schoenfelder, apparently comes from like a college football background, and you can see this guy is damn athletic, but I have a big issue with him fighting at heavyweight. His last fight, he weighed in at 225, and that kind of stuff might work on the regional scene, weighing in at 225 for heavyweight fights, but like, let me tell you this right now, at the UFC level, 225 ain't cutting it, my man. But I got to give this guy Bowenfelder a lot of credit. I said Bowenfelder, Schoenfelder. For some reason, I think this guy's name is like that. One of the bad guys from one of the Daniel Craig James Bond movies. Like, what was that guy's name? Blofeld or Bofeld? What was that motherfucker's name? Hold on. Let me look this shit up. James Bond villain. Bofeld. Is that the guy's name? Blofeld. Yeah. I don't know why this guy's name reminded me of Blofeld. But anyways, I like the kid Schoenfelder, man. Like, I just don't like that he's in the wrong weight class. But what I got to give him credit for, I think he's got an unbelievable sprawl. His takedown defense and his sprawl are sick, man. And y'all in the comments, let me know if y'all know about this kid. Does he have a wrestling background? Or is it just his athleticism from his football background? Because, like, he sprawls and defends takedowns like a guy that knows how to wrestle. So I respect that. But on the feet, there's a double-edged sword. He gets hit entirely too much on the feet. But man, the guy seems like he's got an iron jaw. Now, how long do you want to depend on that, especially at a weight class like heavyweight? Probably not long, but yeah, the kid is tough as hell. I just worry about him being in the wrong weight class and him being green. Like I said, in the last fight, we were talking about a 17-1 guy. Now we're talking about a 5-0 versus 6-0. This is where neither guy's pay dues. And on the other side, with Danylo, look, I know he's a plus 475 dog, but I think part of that is due to the fact that there's not much available footage in MMA of this guy. And not only that, the opponents he's fought, you know, I don't want to say a padded record. Let me tell you what. Hear me out very quick or very closely, because people are going to be like, what do you mean his record's not padded? I mean, he fought a 12-53 guy. He fought a 1-12 guy. Right. But when I talk about padded records, I'm talking about guys that have had at least 10 pro fights, you know, the 10-0 guys, the 15-0, 15-1, 14-2, 18-3. Like, show me an extensive record. Like, remember that kid Yi Jia that I faded against Gabriel Santos, and he had like more fights than that? That's a padded record. But 6-0, bro, you're supposed to fight cans when you're only 6-0, when you're only 5-0. So I don't give a shit if he fought, you know, the the snow cone vendor or whatever the case may be, man. Like I said, when you're 5-0, 6-0, you're supposed to fight cans. So padded record, schmatted record. I don't give a fuck about that. It's not like Mr. Bailey has been fighting the toughest competition either. The only guy he fought that's got like a winning record is Greg Velasco, who got choked out in the first round against Shamil Gaziev on Contender Series. Not only that, that's a dude who not Gaziev, but Velasco, who, like, you know, he's at heavyweight because he's fat, but he's way too small for a heavyweight, you know. So neither guy's truly been tested, man. But what I've noticed about Danylo is that he's actually got a kickboxing background / karate background. I was able to watch some of his striking fights because I couldn't find much of his MMA fights. If y'all can find more than those 2 MMA fights that have kind of been going around, I think it was Popov and I don't remember the other one. But if you can find more than the 2, you know, MMA fights that have been going around, let me know, because I need to see the rest of this guy's MMA fights. But what I did watch was his striking fights. And listen, man, he likes to get right down to business. So I like that. Throws flying knees, throws hard, but I've never seen him overcome MMA adversity, but I've seen him overcome kickboxing adversity. Like, I've seen him get dropped and come back, not quit, not get knocked out, you know, later on in the fight, but make it to the distance. So striking wise, I know he's tough, but I haven't seen a single piece of footage of him defending a takedown. Now, on his Instagram bio, it says that he's a combat sambo champ. I've heard that before, but I'm not going to discredit something that I don't know much about. But what I will say is, if y'all have any footage whatsoever of Danylo having a takedown attempted against him, please post it in the comments below so I can watch it and have a better opinion. Because when we're talking about a -650 and a plus 475, not every question needs to be answered. Like we're talking about a pick 'em, yeah, then I better fucking know how good your takedown defense is. You know what I'm saying? But like at plus 475, these are the kind of odds where you can take guesses. You can say, you know what? Even though I don't know about this one part of his game, the number's good enough for me to roll the dice on a quarter unit shot, a half unit shot, a 1 unit shot. So if you feel that way, I don't blame you. It's just, I don't really know how I see it going, because I don't know what this man Danylo's takedown defense is like. I do think on the feet he's got something for Bailey. Bailey is extremely hittable. Danylo has a lot of kickboxing and karate experience. So Yeah, on the feet, I definitely think Danylo's got a chance. It's just what happens when Bailey, level changes and tries to double leg this man. I have no idea. Like, this guy could fucking be a black belt in jiu-jitsu and like a Sambo world champ, like he says, and maybe he comes out you try to take him down, he judo throws you, gets on top and arm bars. Like, I don't know anything about this dude's ground game. Nothing, because there's no footage available. So, my friends, please, if you have any footage of Danylo what the fuck is his name? Excuse me. Oh, hold on. I gotta get this right. If you have any footage of Danylo Voievodkin getting takedowns attempted on him, please let me know in the comments so I can form a better opinion. But until I see that, I just think that Danylo has an edge standing. But I have no idea about his ground game. So there is potential that the odds are too wide if this guy has any kind of ground game whatsoever. But Bailey, since I actually know he has a ground game, I'll pick him. I mean, he's minus 650. Maybe they know that he should be that there. But we've seen huge favorites lose on the show. And when I have these kind of question marks, it's a pass for me. But if it's dog or pass for you, I completely understand. Like I said, when you're talking about a plus 500, you don't need all the questions to be answered to roll the dice. So if you feel like, hey, let's put this to the test, burn the boats, let's see what happens, I respect it. I just really can't say what I think when I've never seen him defend or even have a takedown attempted against him. So for that reason, I'll pick Bailey, but I got big concerns about Bailey at heavyweight. Like, kid, you weigh 225. Well, we'll see what he weighs on Monday. But last fight, he weighed 225. Like, I know this dude, Danylo, is like a legit big-sized heavyweight. So, yeah, that makes it super, super intriguing for me. Now we got to talk about the fight to watch and the fighter to watch. So what is the fight to watch for Dana White's Contender Series Week 7? My friends, I think that the fight to watch has to be this light heavyweight matchup between Kevin Christian and Francesco Mazzeo. You got the undefeated Italian, who most of his wins come under a minute, taking on the 6'7" Brazilian, Kevin Christian, who's a wild man. Like, I'd be surprised if this fight sucked. So that's my fight to watch. Who is my fighter to watch? I think that my fighter to watch, I'm going to go with the man coming off the 2-year layoff, man. I'm going to go with Vadym Kutsyi, man. Like, when you come on Contender Series with a 17-1 record, and it's not all padded. I mean, like I said, he's beat guys that are currently in the UFC and finished them in the first round, no less. And yeah, I want to see if this guy's UFC ready right now or not. I think he's got a very favorable matchup too. And let's see if he takes advantage of it. Like, my eyes will be on this kid to see what he really's got. So what he's really got, excuse me. So for that reason, Vadym is my fighter to watch. Well, my friends, we did it. It's going on this Tuesday night live at the Apex. Smash that like button for me. Hit the subscribe. Leave me a comment. If you feel so inclined to share, I truly, truly appreciate that. Shout out Meticulous for the amazing graphics. You're the man. And then I'm going to be back tomorrow, Monday, late night, with a special guest, one of the best up-and-coming handicappers in the game, Dravi, a guy who's recently making a name for himself, a guy I respect a lot, really nice guy. And he's my guest for UFC Paris. So we're going to break that down for you tomorrow. I'm really looking forward to that. So keep your eyes peeled. And thanks again for all the support you guys have given me, from day one to now. And follow me on Twitter, Best Fight Picks, Half the Battle HQ, and on Instagram at Half the Battle Pod. And until the next time, let's cash these bets.